Hello game designers, this is Mr. Sparks and welcome to video tutorial number 8 on our Endless Runner project. This one will be taking care of importing some custom meshes for our project, and we're also going to be updating the materials, updating the pickup blueprints, and add a scoring system and a HUD. So you want to go to your Google Classroom and navigate to the game project assets in your classwork tab. And you're going to be basically downloading these two files here, so the coin.fbx and the gem.fbx. So if you would click those here, you'll come up to a screen like this. Should give you the option to download it, so just go ahead and download that to your computer and then do the same thing with the gem. So you want to get both of those files downloaded, and then once you do that, then you can open up your project, your Endless Runner project, and pull up your folder where you save those two files. And I have some additional files here that we'll be using. Some of them we use, some of them we will not in the future for our project. So I want you to go into the pickups folder here, and we'll go ahead in here and we'll right click, create a folder called meshes. Okay, and we'll just kind of give this a color. Well, let's make it green. We'll open that up, pull up this folder. I'm going to select the coin and the gem and drag them into this empty content browser area. Just left click there to get rid of that screen, and you don't have to change anything here. Just go ahead and hit import all, and you'll get this message here that says no smoothing group. Don't worry about that. We're just going to go ahead and close that out. You'll get that every time pretty much you import things. So once we go over here, you don't need this material, so we can basically get rid of that. It's okay when you get this here, just says force delete because it's associated with this file here, so we'll go ahead and delete that. And then you can just hit save all. So these are two actual static meshes. I'll show you what the coin looks like. Just double click and you can kind of scroll around it. You'll see it's like just a round coin, pretty much the same as the material we had, but it's an actual 3D mesh. And the gem is pretty much the same here. So the gem material looks like this. Okay. So what we'll do is out here in our pickups, we have, let's see, got some materials and textures that we have set up. And I actually went and changed this material. So if we go into it, the one thing I did is I kind of shortened it down a little bit. Was we had that texture in there. So what you'll need to do is delete that texture, and there was one multiply node that was in here as well. You can delete that, and then you can just set this up like this. So you'll still have your color. So every brightness parameter we can change, and you multiply, and these two to go in like this. Okay, so that's all you need to do. Go ahead and make those changes in your material, and just go ahead and save it, and then you can close that out. Yes, we want to go ahead and save any changes that might need to be saved. And we'll give that a minute. Okay. And then that will update all of our other materials. We've got a gem texture here. So one of the things that we might do, but we'll look at it at a later point if we think it's necessary. So we're just going to go ahead and click save all. And you really shouldn't have to do anything to these material instances or anything. Actually, these here are really not necessary any longer, so we can actually just kind of delete these three here that have the gem texture, because we're not actually using the texture anymore. So yeah, we'll just force delete those out, and we're going to fix our pickups, and then we'll go from there. So really only need these, and then we'll kind of finish with that. So we'll go here back to our pickups, and we're going to our master pickup. We're going to do a few things in here. Now what I've done is I've basically taken the static mesh that we did have here and I've just eliminated it. Okay, so I've eliminated that, and I want to kind of set everything here, the scale all back to 1 instead of 0.1. The rotation is all still at 0. So I zeroed all those back out, and then I just made sure that the Z value is still at 70. Okay, so the pickup collision also, I did actually make some changes to that. So we want to go ahead and change that. That's actually parented to this. So this has up in the 500. So if you want to make these changes here, make sure that your scale's all at 1, the rotations are all at 0, locations are at 0, and then your box extent here, you want to make that X value of 40, your Y value of 20, and your Z a value of 50. So that should give you this. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go into our construction script again, and here where we're setting our material, and see we are setting our pickup mesh material here. We're going to actually create and set our mesh as well. So we're going to create a variable to do that. So in all of our child blueprints, we can just switch out what mesh we use. So we're just going to kind of go out here and say set static mesh here, and plug that in. And then here in our new mesh, we're just going to promote this to a variable, and let's call this mesh. Okay, and we can go ahead and compile the blueprint. We can leave this pretty much the way it is, I do believe. So our pickup mesh now, if we look at it, we can go ahead and save it. Won't have a mesh listed in there. So what we'll do really quickly is we'll update all these, all of our pickups here. So let's go into the pickup coin, blue coin. So go in here. If we go into our viewport here, you'll notice that there's nothing there. So in our class defaults here, we actually have a, now we have this mesh option here. So if we click here, we can say coin. And we want this to be the coin, so we can just set that variable to coin, and now our coin mesh will show up because it is taken care of in this construction script here. You can't see it because it's inheriting everything from the original master here. So it's taking this variable, plugging that in. We're not giving it a value here, but we're just assigning it a mesh value. Here is the variable from class defaults here, and that populates it there. Okay, and we're saying our point value is 1, so that's fine. We're going to close this one out because that's all we really need to do. We'll go over into our green. I'm going to do all the coins first, then we'll go back and do the gems. So if you get this screen here, you'll notice that there's no material assigned to it. And this point value is actually, this is actually the green gem. So I've clicked the wrong one, so we'll go ahead and we'll do the green gem anyway. So with your class defaults, we can look here and we can say mesh. So we're going to say mesh. We're just going to type in gem. Since this is the gem, we're going to click this. We can look in our viewport now, and there's our gem. And we're going to say our pickup mesh. We want this to be green. So we want our, let's see, what do we call those? Let's go back out here for a second. And we'll want to use this, and it's called coin texture. So we'll just select it here, come back in here, and we can actually click this. So now we have this bright green gem. Now if we hit simulate, you'll notice that that spins around, which is kind of what we had before. Okay, so that takes care of the pickup green. It does have a point value of 20, which will be important, so we just want to verify that. Go ahead and compile that one, close it out. Okay, so let's go back to our actors, pickups. We've done this one here. Let's do the blue gem so I don't miss them again. We're going to call this gem. We'll look in our viewport, make sure it's there, and we'll say, so if we look here, we can say coin texture material instance blue. Since this is a blue gem, we'll click that one. Now we have a nice blue color. Point value is 15, that's fine. We'll go ahead and compile that, take care of that one. Okay, so now let's do pick up green coin. So here we have, this one actually kept the material, which is good, but we'd have no material, no mesh, so let's look for the coin. Click that. Now we have our green coin here. We can simulate that to look at it, and there we go. It's worth 3 points. So our blue coin's worth 1, our green one's worth 3. You can just kind of check to make sure these all look right. Now you make sure to find these over here. You won't find them in this section here in the child blueprint. You'll find them over here in the details panel under your class defaults, because it says master pickup is the parent class. So go ahead and compile that, close that one down. We got our pickup green gem. Let's just double check that one. Yes, it's in there. We're good on that one. So we got our pickup coin red and our pickup red gem. So let's double click these. In here we can actually just say this is a coin. Click it here. If you want to go ahead and open that full blueprint editor, you can to bring it up to this point. It's worth 5 points. And there it is. So compile that. We can close our coin, red coin down. And we go pick up red gem. Go to our viewport. We'll say gem. And we want our red instance. So coin texture material instance red is the one we want. And there we go. So it is worth 25 points. So we'll go ahead and compile that. And we can close that down. And that's pretty much takes care of those and resetting those up. Okay, so now we've got our material meshes imported. We've updated our materials. We've updated our pickups here. So the next thing is to go into our, we're going to go over into our blueprints folder, go into game modes, and we're going to open up our game mode. Okay. So I've created a little function here. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do here. So over here, we're going to create a variable called player score. So you want to go over here to variables, click variable, name it player score, and we're going to change its type to integer. Okay, so this is where we're actually going to create or check the player's score as we go along. And so we'll take care of that part right there. And then I've created a function called increase score. So you want to go here to functions, and you'll click this little plus button here, and we'll say increase score. Let me look. We might just recreate this. Yeah, we can recreate that. So I'm just going to basically do this. So I'm going to take this, delete that. So we got our player score. I want to go ahead and recreate this function. So we'll compile, save that, and we'll go ahead and create a function. So we'll create a new function. So we'll call it increase score. We're going to add one input to it. And we'll rename this points scored. And we're going to change this to an integer. Okay. Then we're going to take our player score and we're going to drag it out here. We're going to set that here. We'll go ahead and add our return node. So we'll add this return node, and we got to determine how we're going to increase our score. What is our score going to be? So the way we're going to do that is we're going to take and get our player score. So we'll get its current value, and we'll simply choose plus and do an integer plus integer. So we'll take what we feed into this input, and you'll see how that works here over in the blueprint or the pickup in a minute. And we'll add it to this value that we already have, and then we'll take that result and we'll set that to our new value. So let's just say, for example, I had my score was 10, and I pick up a coin worth 3 points. So 3 points would actually get fed through this input here, and we'll take 10, that's what it is currently, add 3 to it, that outputs 13. We set that, now our new score will be set to 13. So pretty much just simple addition is all we're worried about doing. Okay, so we'll go ahead and compile that, close that function out, and we can make sure we save if it didn't already and close our game mode out. So now what we want to do is go over to our master pickup here and go over to your event graph and find your overlap event that we've already created. So this is where we're checking to see when our character runs over this. It casts to our runner base to make sure that it is our character. Then it's going to get the actor's location of where this pickup actually is. It's going to spawn this emitter, and then it's going to destroy itself. So we're going to drag this over a little bit because we want to do this right here last, so all our other code runs. And if we destroy it, then our code won't run after that. So we'll make sure we don't do that, have that mistake. So we're going to right click in here, and we're going to say get game mode. So we're going to get the game mode, and then we're going to cast to our runner, endless runner game mode here. So plug this in here, and now we have access to this blueprint that we just created. So let's go in here and let's get our increase. Let's see. Increase score. So we're going to call that function increase score. So this is the function we just created over there. If for any reason you don't see that, it's probably because you did not compile your game mode blueprint before you did this step. So you got to make sure you always do that so you can actually access that. And then the only thing we need to do is take this point value here, variable, which controls how many points each one of these pickups are worth, and plug it in. And that's pretty much all we need to do. So we'll cast our game mode, we'll increase our score, and then we'll destroy this pickup. Okay, so we'll go ahead and compile that, save it. We can close that out now. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is open up your runner base. So in our blueprint character function, open this character up. We're going to just do a couple little things with our character and our camera. So I'm going to take the camera boom here, which is this red line that attaches to the back of our character. I want to change that to 400. I'm going to give it an offset, socket offset, which will offset this camera 100 units up. So that'll give us a little bit further back and a little bit higher up. And then I'm going to take the actual camera here, and I'm just going to rotate it at -10 degrees. Okay, so that'll have our camera a little bit higher and back, and it's going to be pointed down at our character. So this is pretty much what that will look like. Is now we have a little bit better thing. And we can go by here and we can see our coins. You can see how that coin is there. We can't see that we're scoring anything yet, as of yet, but we're going to fix that part next. Okay, so the way we fix that is we're going to take and we're going to create in here in our blueprints folder a new folder called UI for user interface, and we'll give that a color. Let's take a new color, and I'm going to choose this purple looking color. You can drag it over here into purple or whatever color you'd rather use is fine. So we'll take that, then we'll double click this folder. We're going to create a widget blueprint. So I'm going to right click, user interface, widget blueprint. I'm going to call this player HUD. Okay, so this is what we're going to display on the screen. So let's go ahead and double click that, open it up. And this little box you see right here is our actual, this is actually our screen. So this will be our screen that we're going to be storing our information on. So we're just going to do a real simple one to start with, just to see if our score system is working correctly, and then we'll do a much better job and fix this much nicer in a later lesson. So we'll probably have a lesson or two just on the HUD itself. Okay, so what we're going to need is we're going to take some text. So over here in the palette in our common section, we're going to take this text value here, drag this out, place it over here on the right. And these little things here are anchors. So this is where it actually anchors it on the screen. So we want to make sure we anchor it in the similar location where we want it to display. So in this case, we're going to display it in the top right corner. So I want to anchor it to the top right here. And I'm just going to give this text Not 3 zeros just by default. I'm going to go down here under the font. If you see appearance, you can expand these down, and under justification, I'm going to justify it to the right so that our score goes this direction here as it goes up. Really don't need to do anything else as far as that. We may come back in and change our font setting and things like that a little bit later. I'm going to make this size to content, so click that. That's going to resize this little box to whatever's inside of it. Then we'll make this negative 110 on our X, and maybe make it about 50 on the Y. And so that'll pretty much take care of that portion of it right there. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is really the only thing we need to do from this point is go here under our text, and we're going to actually bind this to that variable in our game mode. So we want this to display whatever the value is in our game mode. So we're going to click bind, and we're going to create a binding, which will create a function. So it'll come over here, and it's going to say get text. So let's go ahead and change that. So if you just click it over here, press F2 on your keyboard, we can just say get player score. And let's go back out here. Let's name that text block that. Player score. So we kind of know what that is over here. We can see it over here. Okay, go back to our graph. In here, this is going to actually take our value and convert it over to a text feature and display it on the screen for us. So we're going to do similar thing as what we did. So we're going to get the game mode, because that is where this is variable we're looking for is going to be at. And we're going to cast to that game mode. So we're going to cast to the endless runner game mode. We'll plug this in here. And we'll plug this in here. But what we need access to that player score variable. So the way we do that from this cast node is we're going to go here to this little blue pin, drag down from there, and we're going to say get player score. We want to know what it is, and we'll get this here, and we're just going to take this output here, which is an integer, plug it in here, and it will say convert integer to text, and what it will do is it will give us this nice little display here. So we can click this. And we can say the minimum integral digits is 1. Maximum integral digits is how many digits can it display. It's an endless runner, so this will probably be never get that high. Use grouping basically means that it would allow you to have a decimal point. So if we get over 1,000, it will check that. If that becomes a problem in the future, we'll come back in and just uncheck that box. But for now, all this is fine. So we'll go ahead and compile this and save it. And we'll leave it open just in case something doesn't work properly that we want to, and we'll jump over here to our runner base. Okay, so in our runner base, we're going to go to our event graph, and we're going to search for our begin play. And I don't know if we have a begin play yet. We do not. So we're going to go just right up in here. I'm going to right click and say event begin play. Okay, and so event begin play here, we're going to create that widget. So we're going to create, do that. So we're looking for create widget. Pops up this here. We got to tell it what class we want. So we want our player HUD. So if we click this little down arrow, there's our player HUD we just worked on. And then I'm going to do something that's going to make it a little easier in the future. We're just going to say promote this to a variable. And we'll call this player HUD. Player HUD, hit the enter key, ref. Player HUD ref. So we want this to be a reference to our player HUD. And then when this is over, we're going to say add to viewport. So add this to our viewport. This will just create it. This will set it as a variable. This is what actually puts it on the screen. So that's what we need. So we'll go ahead and hit compile. And now we should be ready to test this thing. Okay. So let's try it out. We should hit play. And up there in the right, we'll see a little 0. So when I hit this green gem, I've now got 20 points. That's great. I got 21. That's another 1. That's 22. This should be 5 more. That's 27. I got 20 more. 47. So we are, looks like we are working. We'll see if we can get up to like 100. 89, 90. Make sure that it's going to turn over. Sure enough, 101. You can see how it just continues to expand as we continue to score. So okay, so that seems to be working well. One other thing that we'll need to do is we'll go back into our actors here. We'll go into our master tile. In our viewport here, and we have these obstacle spawn points. So we need to make sure that our obstacle spawn points are getting set here correctly. Okay, so what we need to do is we want to set these. So we've got spawn points 1, 2, 3, and let's see. Spawn point 1, spawn point 2, spawn point 3. And that looks like it is good. So all this looks like it is working pretty well. The same. These spawn points actually should be at different spots there, but at least we know they're working correctly. So we're going to go with what we have here, and I'm going to say that looks like it's working well. And so we're going to try to finish this video up on this so far, and then we'll hopefully get back to the next one and continue on with what we're doing. We'll add some obstacles and different things like that. Just continue to enhance our process and work on our HUD and things like that in the future. So that'll be pretty much it for this one, and so we'll see you in the next video.